Hey, good morning, and welcome to MDY Online Bible Study. We are in our second session of a two-part series for one really significant parable from Jesus. Some people have said that the name of this parable could possibly be the parable of the hypocrite who didn't know he was a hypocrite. I want to read it to you again just to refresh your memory from last week. And here it is from Matthew chapter 7. Very challenging stuff here. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, hey, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First, take the plank out of your own eye, and you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Now, there was a sermon series that I saw once, and it was called, Was Jesus Funny? And so what the preacher did was he looked at a few different times in Jesus' life, a few different teachings in Jesus' life to point out, yeah, Jesus was funny. And so this parable really points out, and Jesus makes a really absurd point here that's kind of funny when you look at it carefully, but it's also very deeply convicting. And so he says, and remember, Jesus was a carpenter, so wood is something that is going to be very familiar to him and to the people he's talking to. He says, why in the world do you worry about the speck of dust in someone else's eye when you all the time have got this plank in your own eye? Now, I want to point out here, I'm holding a plank up to my eye. This is what it would look like. It's absurd. Now, I want to point out to you the opposite end of the spectrum, so the speck of dust that it talks about. I actually was doing some work here in my garage a couple of days ago and sawing some lumber, and there is sawdust on the floor. And so here I want you to see, there's a speck of sawdust, actually 3 or 4 specks of sawdust. So it's like this. It's like we're walking around with this plank in our eye, and we're looking at other people, and we're going, hey you, do you not realize you got like a speck, you got a little speck of something in your eye. You should do something about that. You should take care of that. And so we're saying that while we've got this sticking out of our own eye. And so, I mean, how ridiculous is that? Was Jesus funny? Yeah, I mean, that comparison there is a little bit humorous because it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. I think that really the root of this passage, the root of this problem is hypocrisy. And as Jesus has pointed out, and I think the root of hypocrisy quite possibly is self-righteousness. And self-righteousness is just when we want to feel better or make ourselves look better than other people, even at the expense of looking absurd, of carrying around this plank sticking out of our eye while pointing out the speck of dust, the little problem. We've got these big problems that everybody can see, or quite possibly we're expending so much energy and effort trying to cover up and hide the problems. I mean, most people can see through it, but we're trying to hide it, and we expend this energy, and then we're trying to point out the little problems in other people's life because it feels good to us, because it fuels that self-righteousness. It makes us feel better when we can put someone else down. Well, at the root of hypocrisy is that self-righteousness, and the root of self-righteousness is a lack of humility. And so last week we said in looking at the same passage, we divided it up. And last week we said, hey, listen, one of the solutions to this problem in our life is having good friends. Good people around us that will see through our junk, that will see through our personality, see through the facade, and be honest with us. And say, hey, Trent, listen, stop pointing out everybody's faults, and you need to take care of this problem. You realize you've got this huge issue that you're ignoring, you're trying to cover up, but we see it. And we need friends like that. We need that because oftentimes we're blind to those things. Later on in the book of Matthew, Jesus totally calls out the religious people, the Pharisees, and he says, he lists this number of woes to them, and he says, woe to you, hypocrites. See, there was complete self-righteousness in their life. And he says, woe to you, hypocrites. And then several times in that passage, he calls them blind. He says, you blind guides, you blind hypocrites, you blind men. Yeah, they were blind. They didn't see their own problems because they had a complete lack of humility, and they were protecting and fueling this self-righteousness in their lives. And so just the past couple of weeks in our backyard youth groups and our online Bible studies, for those of you that have joined us, know that a significant part of what we've been studying has to do with the importance of humility. And we looked last Wednesday night at Backyard Youth Group that, listen, nobody's immune from this. Nobody's better than anyone else. I mean, the passage we said or that we looked at said, listen, everybody is a sinner. No one is righteous. Nobody at all. And then this last week, in the book of Philippians, in our Bible study, we read this. And in the book of Philippians chapter 2, it talks about actions and attitude. Actions and attitude. And it precedes actions with attitude. And so we have to begin by helping correct our wrong attitude. Self-righteousness is a completely wrong attitude when we're trying to make ourselves look better at the expense of someone else. But listen to what it says in Philippians chapter 2. It says, in your lives you must think, attitude, and actions like Jesus. Christ himself was like God in everything, but he did not think that being equal to God was something to be used for his own benefit, but he humbled himself and made himself nothing. And then that was followed by right actions, by righteous actions in his life. So I want to encourage us this morning to really work on this. I think this is a universal problem. I think we see it constantly. If you watch the news, especially in politics, it's all about putting the other person down, trying to make yourself look better. I mean, that's the state of our politics today. And it all comes from lack of humility, which leads to self-righteousness, which leads to great hypocrisy. I mean, that's the state of the culture we live in. And so Jesus is saying to us, hey, listen, remove that log. And what is that log? That log is self-righteousness. Just humble yourselves, listen to other people. Listen to dear friends. Listen to people who care about you and want the best for you. And actually hear them to make the changes in your life, to remove those things. And then when we're busy working on ourselves, we're not paying so much attention to other people and to their mess. So this is a really crucial and critical thing for our lives, and especially as we saw in our Bible study this past Thursday. God has called us to shine like stars in the universe. And what do stars do? They give light in the darkness, and they also guide people in the right direction. And so, listen, it doesn't take much for us to shine like stars. It takes a little bit of humility, which leads to us getting rid of self-righteousness, which leads to us not being critical and judging of other people. And I'm telling you, for all of us, if we could get that humility thing down and if we could stop judging others, we would stick out. We would shine like stars. And people they wouldn't make fun of us. They wouldn't call us out. They would be highly respectful of anyone who is not a judging person, not a self-righteous person, and someone who walks humbly. So great challenge from the Word of God today. Okay, so now for some announcements about MDY coming up soon. This week, we've got, again, our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday format. This Tuesday, we're going to have a meetup for all students, 6th through 12th grade. We don't quite yet have nailed down the exact activity. We're still working on some details there. So we'll announce that to you through our social media accounts and through our text service. This Wednesday is Backyard Youth Group, and it'll be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. This week we're going to meet at the courtyard and playground area at the Eastside building. So join us there. We'll have some snacks and drinks. Bring a chair. There's probably enough available there, but bring a chair if you want to sit comfortably up off the ground, and we're going to have a great time. Also, I would say dress prepared to get wet. We're gonna play some wet games. It's gonna be a hot week. It's gonna be a hot day, and so we're gonna take advantage of that. So dress accordingly. Hey, listen, if you don't want to get wet, if that's you just can't even grasp or fathom doing that, no worries. You don't have to get wet. So don't let that keep you from coming. We will not force anyone to get wet that doesn't want to. But we're gonna play some fun games that'll have to do with getting wet, and so just be aware of that. This Thursday will be Coffee Shop Bible Study. The location will be announced later for that. It will probably be like 2 to 3:30 again, and we'll see where that's going to come up. So our high school trip to Colorado is not going to happen. Just a number of factors involved there. Partly just the uncertainty of everything going on right now. But instead, we are going to have a series of day trips, probably a couple of day trips on that week and a couple of day trips the following week. We're going to work up a schedule for this. Nothing more than maybe an hour and a half away. Some maybe 30 minutes away. Some actually may be local, but we're going to provide day trips. I think we'll have a 15-passenger van available for each trip. We'll not fill it to capacity, just to try to spread out a little bit. And then anyone that wants to participate in the trip, most all these will be outside and or socially distanced. But if you want to participate and provide your own transportation, just for safety or just because you can, you are welcome to do that. And so that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Summer is actually, it's warming up, but it's actually winding down toward the school year, whatever that looks like. I am praying for this school year, just the uncertainty of it. I know everybody's got a little anxiety, maybe worried about being disappointed, but let's pray together that this school year works, that it works well, and that our society can weather the changes that are possibly coming. Hey, I want to encourage you, have a great week. Thanks for joining us again. And I pray for all of us that every single one of us can find good friends in our lives. People that want the best for us, people that love God, people that can be honest with us, and that all of us can work at and begin to win this battle with self-righteousness, with judgment, and learn to walk humbly with our God. Have a great day.